My father's death is an awakening for the movement for the Stop Asian Hate. Asian Americans are American too, and we want them to be like step up and spoke up more. We need an equal rights. We need to treat us at the same like everyone.
Welcome to The Tiger in the Room. My name is Hannah, and I'll be your host. We are a podcast series that is here to talk about the current and ongoing national crisis of anti-Asian hate crimes. A lot of us first heard about anti-Asian hate in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. We believe that hate against Asians and Asian Americans is not just seen in acts of violence. It is also seen when our community is silenced, invisibilized, and erased. We plan to talk about the challenges that modern-day Asian Americans face every day, whether it's in the workplace, in public, in media, and so on. We also talk to the organizers, activists, and change makers who are fighting for our community and fighting for change. We hope you'll join us. Our guests today are Monthanus Ratanapakdee and Eric Lawson, the daughter and son-in-law of the late Vicha Ratanapakdee and the founders of a nonprofit organization called Justice for Vicha. On January 28, 2021, Vicha Ratanapakdee, an 84-year-old Thai-American grandfather, was killed in broad daylight outside of his home in San Francisco. His death sparked national outrage and brought mainstream attention to the rise of anti-Asian hate crimes that have been sweeping the country since the start of COVID-19. As founders of an organization called Justice for Vicha, they seek to preserve and honor their late father's memory while continuing to raise awareness about the ongoing problem of anti-Asian hate.
Yeah. Do you know where our pain at? Who you think built them train tracks?
This interview with Monthanus Ratanapakdee and Eric Lawson was recorded on May 13th, 2023. Monthanus and Eric, welcome to the podcast. We're so honored to have you both here.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us being here. Yeah.
So first of all, I want to ask, how are you guys both doing? It's been 2.5 years, and I see you guys on the news. You're still just as active as ever since January 2021.
This month is our AAPI Heritage Month, and then we just celebrated last night for the RISE organization. They very grateful to give me the AAPI Women's Award. Yeah. And thank you for everyone recognize our family and recognize for my father. Yes. Yeah. And so our family, they dedicate times and then raise awareness for the community since my father's was a murder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then last year, we dedicate time to do a rename street, Vicha Ratanapakdee Way, and not only to remember my father, but we want to not forget so many victims of the anti-Asian hate.
I was actually in San Francisco back in February. I saw the mural. I saw the street renaming. That was a really big deal for you guys to finally get that done. That was something you were pushing for. How did it feel when it finally happened?
Yes, I have to be honored to my son, 13 years old, Titus Lawson, who are inspiring me, and Eric, that time when my father was murdered, I just, first generation, I just hiding myself in the house, I don't want to come out. But he pulled my depression and grief and then come out to strengthened me to be stood up and dedicate my time and raising awareness to the community. Yeah. And Eric is working closely with the mayor office to do the mural in the Chinatown, San Francisco, California. Yeah. And then later on, we do the street renames in October last year, 2023.
Wow, that's great. Eric, tell me about how, your experience just getting, the mural and the street renaming, how are you doing?
It was amazing that so many people were willing to help. I thought that I would have a lot just to do on my own, but I was really surprised how much community support I had there. The architect, the artist, the mayor's office, and just everybody in general. Every time I reached out, it always seemed to come back.
Definitely. Community support, I think, is always very important. Let's go back just a little bit. I remember when your father died, We were all the way in New York. We saw the news. And what happened really did spark the movement that happened in 2021. We attended rallies here. People were calling for justice. Tell me what you experienced during that time. Like, were you surprised by the response that people had towards his death?
Yeah. Flashback to 2021. I remember my father was killed January 28th. And start the movement for the Stop Asian Hate movement is start in March 13, 2021 from Vicha Ratanapakdee death.
Mm-hmm.
And before the spa shooting. But since then, after 3 years, I still seeing anti-Asian violence to our community. AAPI is still going on, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not go away. I still remember Vicha Ratanapakdee is the first movement for the Stop Asian Hate, and even in San Francisco. And then they're starting for the social media, like a hashtag Stop Asian Hate,
Right.
And then that's why I feel proud about my father's story that inspire for the young generation. Asian American activism is like standing up and speaking up. That's why inspire me to be come out, and then get everyone together.
I thought about how I could get in the news a little more. The first day we went to go meet the detective, and I had the news meet us outside so we could tell the news what the detective told us. And I just wanted everyone to know what was happening in our case and how it was being handled. We ultimately ended up getting some conflicting reports, and it just it made me a little suspicious. And then when Chesa called, he was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And I asked about, do you think this is possibly a hate crime? And then he just froze and was like, "Oh, these are details of the case I can't talk about." And right away, that made me suspicious of everything that they did. He didn't want to add a third felony because politically his whole platform was to reform the prison system and defund the police and things like that. So it seemed like a political move right away.
Mm-hmm. After Grandpa Vicha died, the attorney for the murderer went on record saying there's no way this could have been racially motivated because Grandpa Vicha was masked. And so the perpetrator couldn't have known he was Asian. I don't know how many people actually really believe that, but I wanted to know, how did that make you feel when you heard that?
At the first time, when we heard from the former DAs in San Francisco says temper tantrum is make me frustrated, because it couldn't be that word. Some man is running down to the street and then pushing the elderly man very bad, and my father fell down and died right away. Die after 2 days, and they cannot charge for the hate crime, but now we going to the trial, and after the preliminary hearing, we saw all the evidence for 3 days. I'm sit down, I was numb because the suspect walked back to my father 3 times, and he watching my father die and bleeding a lot all over his head, body, and he not even called the ambulance or anyone to help. I feel like he's murdered.
Did you feel that there were a lot of people saying or trying to convince you, though, that this wasn't a hate crime, though? They just thought crime is bad in the Bay Area in general, and this is one of those things that happened.
Yeah. In the Bay Area right now is all the crime is, and after 3 years, and 300% is very increasing, and mostly targeting to the elderly people and women, and Asian Americans feel like we feel fear to walk on the street. It's not safe for us, and then no one should not have to feel fear to walk in this country. Should not walk everyone should be safe on the street.
Right.
And then I think as a policymaker, we need to support a assembly bill for 1067 for assembly ever law, to help make the law is stronger.
a lot of people have blamed the rise in crime in the Bay Area due to, these liberal policies, which are soft on crime. And, the DA was recalled. The Asian American vote was a huge factor behind that. So you're saying like this has been going on and people have been getting frustrated. And finally, when the primaries came up, it was just like enough was enough. They wanted change. What was your experience with like just seeing that frustration and seeing people finally do something about it with recalling the DA?
That's why everyone come out together, and then the thing is, for me, I'm feeling like everyone, we are the U.S. citizen, right? Everyone should come out and do vote, and you can see what do you like and what you don't like. You have to vote, and you can make the law. That's why. And then now, to make our city safe. And we hope future generation and everyone's come out together and stop hate.
We started going to a lot of rallies, and we started talking to people that were like-minded. So we started to put together that this is the reality of the policies of the DA. You can say that crime went up, and it did because of COVID. But it was the rallies where people started standing up and speaking out. That's the big message that got across to the Asian community. And that's what ultimately made change. Who's letting all these people out? Oh, it's the DA with let's go after him. And I personally didn't trust him. And now recently, the DA Jenkins had just announced why she didn't want to press charges against some officers that were involved in a shooting. There was actually 2 key witnesses that would have exonerated the officer and shown that it was self-defense. And both of their statements were not shown to the grand jury during the indictment. So that proves right there that Chesa has no problem manipulating what they show to the grand jury and to the judges to promote his political means. I knew it right away when I talked to him that something like that was going on. And just the other day, it was like I got exonerated. Like I was like, oh, wow, like this really was going on. And the current DA just exposed it. So that kind of made it all worth the recall, like all the efforts that we helped put into the recall, to know that at least somebody was in there like that isn't totally politically motivated and like goes after the truth and isn't afraid to stand up to the political people that are backing like the defund the police and things like that.
That actually leads me to another topic, and this may be somewhat of a sensitive topic to talk about, but Eric, you've gone on the record about this. You've been pretty vocal about it. I saw you speak on Nightline and CNN saying that there's also a pattern happening here of, perpetrators being of a certain background who are attacking Asians. And I'm sure you got a lot of heat for saying that. I want you to just elaborate on that. Like, what did you mean by that? What was the reason for you calling that out?
Dave Chappelle talked about it at the beginning of one of his specials. And then nobody really said anything about that. But then they got on him for some stuff later that he said about the LGBTQ plus community. But to me, like seeing him like say that means that somebody was thinking it, and I wasn't just imagining it. And originally, I just wanted somebody to like stand up for the community, because when you hurt one person in the community, it hurts both the communities. And ultimately, what I figured out is that this is how people stay repressed. This is how horror is a disease. This is leftover from slavery. If you look at it, the thing that's causing the friction between everybody in these areas is lack of services.
Right.
If people had what they need, they wouldn't go out and attack people and find out and take advantage of things like, oh, Asians have cash in their house or they carry it around. I wanted like just a calling out, like, please help and stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I started to realize that when you start accusing each other and you're fighting within the community instead of staying together, then that's when the powers that be stay ahead and they keep you in your place.
Right. Monthanus, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that at that time, our family feels like we need some leader to call out and then come out and say something to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Every community is my community. I feel so much pain when my father was killed, And then every time, when I see the news and all the victims, whoever got a violence or hate or is killed, I feel so much pain too, And that's why all the community is together. It's the same community. We are solidarity, and
Mm-hmm.
live in together and then live in peace.
Do you wish there was more accountability, however, from people in the Black community to address that this is a pattern happening?
Not everyone is the same.
Right.
Every community, every family is different. So that's why we want the leader to be say something, or they might come up together and then whoever, like I want to say, like the criminal, whoever committed the crime, right? They should
be held responsible.
Be held responsible for the punishment.
Punishment. Yeah.
Where we were at politically when this happened, there was a huge defund the police. It was right after Judge Floyd, and we're in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, we're the most liberal people. Like we're all on board with that. But then when people start using it as an excuse to break into our stores and commit crimes and make us feel unsafe because they feel like it's justified, that doesn't work for everybody in the community. And even San Francisco and the Bay Area, we have slowly changed our mind to be more safety forward because we realize that just letting everybody out and not having cops, and not having a plan for people when they get out of jail or for their mental issues, and just letting it out on the street like some public experiment that ultimately, like, we feel like we're one of the first people who are the victims of.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay. And San Francisco agrees. That's why the recall effort was so successful. And now other groups are catching on that people care about safety first. We want to be humane. We want to do everything that San Francisco's always stood up for, but we're not going to just let people be victimized.
Shifting topics just a little bit. I did read in the New York Times story as well that when Grandpa Vicha died, there were a lot of people who came out and started claiming they were related to you. They were setting up fundraisers in your name, taking advantage, I think, of the fact this was a very famous case. Do you both feel you were taken advantage at all during the last 2.5 years?
As a victim, right? We are not a non-profit. So at the first, yeah, I see people claiming for my father a lot, but later on, I saw some of them like they turn back. They don't want to do that, but I just want to make sure, like, I don't want that happen to another victims because some of the victims cannot speak English. Yeah, don't want them to feel like they take advantage. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the victim needs support. Yeah.
Yeah.
Needs fun to support. Yeah.
I think the internet, there's always going to be like those troll, like techie people that are going to put up the false site that looks like your site and try to steal. Like they have that's like a basic platform, and the same thing for a lot of these political groups. When they see a story, they'll come in and they'll wrap themselves around it and act like they're involved. They're helping you. They're like, what are we gonna do? Like, oh, we're gonna have this rally. Oh, let me help you with that. And then when you help them, then they want something in return. they're like, oh, I want to be the speaker at your next rally. And it turns out that a lot of it's just self-promoting for their own interest in their political careers. So we want victims to look out, like be like, look out for some of these lawyers. Like they're not totally like, there's a reason why people don't like lawyers.
I think even here in New York, I remember when Michelle Go died, the girl who was pushed in front of the subway and died in the subway station. And there was a rally in Times Square a few days after she was murdered. And my friends and I went. The whole Asian community was grieving. But what really disturbed me was that there were so many politicians who were invited to that rally, and more than half of them were not even Asian. And the whole thing just became kind of a promotional, talk track for them to push every issue except anti-Asian hate.
The typical New Yorker, someone who you just say, thank you for being who you are. And unfortunately for Michelle, she was at the wrong place at the wrong time, a place that many of us know.
They talked about mental illness, they talked about gun violence, they talked about systemic oppression, which are all valid. But I just didn't think it was the right space and time to talk about that when this was meant to be a space for our community to be there to grieve the loss of an Asian woman, one of whom was many that was murdered in New York at the time. It kind of surprised me that the organizers also allowed it. Like they were taking up so much space and time. And one of the attorney general, I forget his name, but the attorney general even said Michelle died because she was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, it's not okay to say that.
It's not okay. And it's just like, I was shocked. And it blows my mind how when these incidents happen, everyone just seems so quick to try to be like, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. It just doesn't seem like this is helping our community.
What's going on with them is that all those people all know each other for many years before, and they're all politically connected. And they all ran on platforms that were very popular up until this movement to defund the police and, get rid of the industrial prison complex. And all of them ran on these platforms. So the second you start showing some flaws in their platform, they all wrap around it to try to hide it and try to control the narrative so they don't have to take any accountability.
Definitely. I think that's true. But it seems like to me that they're quick to do that when the victim is of a certain background. I think it seems interesting that when it's the Asian community that gets affected, people seem very quick to put, our pain first. It's always every other issue, but, racism or people attacking us.
When that happened to the victims, first thing they have to dealing with the grief. And then we are a first generation, mostly Asian American, they don't want to stand up and come out and speak. And then that's why those are people who take advantage. Yeah. And then we are the young generation and new generation should be come out together and helping first generation.
So I want to ask you about that. Like, have you seen the younger generation, in the Bay Area? Have you seen like younger generations of Asian Americans becoming more vocal and speaking out?
We've seen actually so that time she's 13 years old. She did the first rally in the summertown for the Stop Asian Hate like 3 years ago. And we saw Mina for the AAPI youth rights. Yeah, but the Mina is have a non-organization, right? Yeah, they stand up and spoke up. But if you're talking about the young generation, like the student at school, I don't think they get enough acknowledge about the Stop Asian Hate, or that's why we need to want to push about the history about the Asian American in the high school, elementary school.
You guys are parents to 2 boys. Is there anything like Asian parents can do to start also encouraging their kids to speak out?
Yeah, my both son is born here, and then I have to treat them different because our family is a victims. And then the picture of Grandpa was pushed on the TV, right? If I talking to him too much, it's gonna be like damage his emotional. Right. But his colleagues are really good with that. Yeah, that's why he's inspiring me and Eric doing the mural and the street rename. That's why we want to step up. Like get the Asian American movement, for reminder the future generation. Yeah. And it is hard for us to I keep talking about Stop Asian Hate. We don't want to let him have emotional, but it seems like he's very good with know about what's going on.
Yeah. Is he proud of both of you?
Yeah, he's
Ollie?
proud of us. Yeah.
That's great. Eric, did you have anything you want to add to that as well?
It's the one thing that keeps me motivated. Like it keeps me willing to do interviews and go to meetings and rallies and such, because I wanted to get to a point where all this is a non-issue for him, and everyone can just feel free and equal. But it doesn't. Freedom isn't free. You have to fight for it. We're doing the best that we can to protect our children in the city.
There's actually kind of the history of this country. The rights we have weren't just given to us. And it seems like the Asian American community is going through our own time to really, fight for just equal representation, respect, recognition of our pain and our challenges. What have you both learned from all of this? You guys are now activists, and you became activists because this tragedy happened to you. And I'm sure this isn't something you expected you would ever get involved in. What has been the thing you've learned the most from these last 2.5 years?
My father's death is an awakening for the movement for the Stop Asian Hate. And then we saw the rally, we attend the rally a lot, and then we try to make people get together and know what's going on. We want to remind future, Asian Americans are American too. And we want them to be step up and spoke up more and then get together. And we need an equal right. We need to treat us at the same like everyone.
There's been a huge percentage of people, definitely in the Bay Area and probably beyond, that are just disenchanted with government. And there's nothing we can do. Nobody's a good candidate. I don't even care. And I learned that if you're willing to fight for stuff and you talk to your community leaders, they're actually looking for good ideas. And if you can tell them, then some of them will be implemented. And it's amazing to me how many things that we put forward that our community leaders have come up behind us and stood behind us and got resolutions passed. Bills have been passed from the state level all the way to the national level because we started standing up and speaking out. This government is ours. And I think the recall election really shows how if you organize and you have a common goal, you can get what you want. That's the biggest takeaway that I had, is that it's not futile. It's work, and someone's got to do it. So if the more people that do it, the better off society will be.
Yeah, everyone should come out together against violence and against hate.
What's next for both of you? What are you guys planning to focus on for the next few months or even years?
Same kind of thing that we're doing right now. Just making events and bringing people together, getting noticed by the news. This is how you influence and how you make change. Mm-hmm. So things like we already made the street naming. We changed the street name of the staircase. Now we want to beautify it. So we're going to start somehow we're going to raise the money and start an organization, because it's going to cost probably at least $500,000. But we have a really good idea to make it artsy and beautiful and make it ultimately I'm thinking that I want it to be a landmark, because that solidifies it and make sure that Grandpa will never be forgot, and that that's part of justice for him, is making sure that his memory isn't being forgot. And possibly we might be able to get some other cities on board and just slowly make a physical, viewable impact in America.
we keep continue to doing the stairway art in Grandpa Street rename, and also we want to do the landmarks Grandpa Street rename in another city like a Bay Area or maybe Boston, to remind like our AAPI Asian community have a street rename too. Yes,
Not just Grandpa's name, like other prominent Asian leaders, other Black leaders, like other Asian, like Southeastern Asians, everybody. Like, we need less white people names on streets. It should represent America better.
We have Martin Luther King Street, right? Cesar Chavez Street. And we need an Asian American street more in this country.
I do think we have a couple streets in Chinatown that are named after some prominent Asian Americans. That's such a simple way to just make sure that people don't forget. Even though it may not be as like loud and showy as like, a rally, it's a simple way to just make sure that people who have contributed or people who are victims are not forgotten from, the history of this country and, the history of the city that they're from.
That's why my father's memory is reminding for people is for the civil right, for equal right for everyone.
What gives you hope in terms of, continuing to fight for the Asian American community? What keeps you both going?
I promise I will fight and to see the justice for not only for my father, but for our community, and then I hope our futures, everyone stand up, be loud, and let's be courageous together. And then the victims of crime and hate crime, we need the service, we need help. And then after our justice system, is still delayed, we didn't get any process for we need to.
Now that we're in the criminal justice system as victims, it's really awful how many vacations these judges have, how these lawyers all have too many cases, so they can never make a schedule, like until it's like 2 years out. Everything gets delayed for really no reason. It doesn't take that long to get the evidence that we're all looking. What's really holding it up is like we don't have enough judges and enough lawyers for San Francisco. That's something I think needs addressing. But what gives me hope are young leaders like Evan Law introducing that hate bill, to where if he shows a pattern, like say somebody attacks people that only houses that have shoes outside their house, like that's a pattern. Or maybe people that only wear turbans, like that's enough. He doesn't have to say, "I hate you, you stinking whatever." Like as he's doing the act, they can put together a pattern. So Evan Law introducing this act to our assembly is huge for me, and I hope that it's replicated throughout the country. And I really hope that everybody here in California contacts their assemblyman and tells them that they want to support this bill, because it's not just for the Asian community, it's for everybody. This is a way for a community to stand up and say, we do not tolerate hate in our community. This old hate law is outdated and it's not good enough.
Is there anything else that you would want to just tell the Asian community?
The parents have to address to the young children, for your family, to what's going on. And then, we hope next level, like everyone's come out and together and stop Asian hate.
Stay informed and know who your supervisor is. Know who your mayor is. Like some people don't even know who the mayor is. Leaders like Stephanie helped us put forth the resolution and to the board to get the street name change. Like that. Your leaders are the ones that can get stuff done, and laws are how you make change in America. So stand up, do it.
This government is ours, like you said. It's up to us. Thank you both so much for being here today. It's an honor to have you both here. The work that you're doing is incredibly important. And even though the media may have stopped covering, the crimes that are happening, it's imperative for people like you who are still, fighting for change. and that the community also recognizes and supports that. We thank you so much for doing that work. And to all our listeners, please follow Justice for Vicha at Justice for Vicha on Instagram. You guys are also on Twitter at Ratanapakdee.
Yes.
And also YouTube at Vicha Ratanapakdee.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much for being here, and we wish you the best in your
Thank you.
in your journey. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
America, why they hate you run deep in America?
On the next episode of The Tiger in the Room, we sit down with LA-based designer Jonathan Chang, who is the artistic voice behind hundreds of portraits documenting the victims of anti-Asian hate crimes. Jonathan's art became a cornerstone of the Stop Asian Hate movement and gained prominence in 2021 with the tragic murder of Grandpa Vicha Ratanapakdee. His art is also credited for sparking broader awareness about this issue of anti-Asian hate. Join us for a conversation with Jonathan as we explore his artistic journey, his commitment to activism through art, and the vital role that his art has played in amplifying awareness.